and welcome to Used Bike Heaven with me, Fran Robinson. Each week, one lucky punter gets to test 3 bikes that we feel suits their lifestyle needs and, most importantly, their pocket. And then we furnish them with all the facts they'll need to make the purchase. This week, we have 3 middleweight sports bikes for our recently qualified guest to try. These bikes have it all and should provide many a fun-filled ride. And as always, our resident expert, Dr. Rod, will be on hand to give some essential tips on used bike maintenance. But without further ado, let's meet this week's test rider. Michelle Purcell is a customer services advisor for a well-known brand of tyres and lives in Stoke-on-Trent with her partner and 2 daughters. She passed her test last October and has been riding an Aprilia RS125 ever since. Now she feels it's time to upgrade and move on to bigger and better things. Michelle is looking for something very sporty from the 600cc category, and there's plenty out there for us to choose from. Let's hope our selection fits the bill. Shelley's looking for a 600cc sports bike for around £6,000. With this budget, we've come up with 3 bikes between 2 and 3 years old. This is Shelley's first real bike, and she's always hankered after a sports bike. So let's hope the 3 we've chosen live up to her requirements. Let's see what the first bike is. First up, it's Suzuki's GSX-R600. Introduced in 1996, the GSX-R600 became the 600 to own for all wannabe racers. This 2001 bike is the first of the new shape and features the now familiar Suzuki brand styling. This new model was very closely related to its bigger brother, the GSX-R750, and both featured a whole host of design cues taken from the GP race bikes. The first time you ride this, you'll find yourself getting off afterwards to check it actually has 600 on the fairing and not 750. This bike featured more mid-range than most 750s of the time and also looked a whole lot better too. So Shelley, bike number 1 is the beautiful Suzuki GSX-R600. What do you think to the looks of this?
It looks very heavy. Pretty but heavy.
Well, yeah. So does that frighten you?
Well, I've never considered it before. It's always put me off.
Right, because you're coming from your 125, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what bikes have you been looking at or thinking about?
Well, it's mainly the R6 that take my eye.
Right.
Because it's looks quite dainty and quite light.
It does, it's quite sleek, isn't it?
It is,
yeah,
yeah.
it's quite sleek. But these are fantastic.
They are gorgeous looking.
Great sports bike. Now, what are you going to use your bike for?
Just mainly fun, you know, Sundays.
Yeah? Yeah, until you get used to it, and then it's like every day.
That's it.
Will you take it on the track?
I'd like to eventually.
Yeah.
When I've had a bit more practice.
When your confidence builds and stuff. Brilliant. Well, you know, there's only one way to build your confidence, and that's to get on them. So get your helmet on and let us know what you think.
Okay.
Michelle is testing a 2001 model GSX-R600 on a Y plate priced at $4,499. The chassis on the GSX-R600 is virtually identical to that of the 750, so you know the handling is going to be spot on. Performance too is good, with the new fuel injection providing plentiful, smooth, progressive power, making this bike an ideal candidate for track days. Looks-wise, this bike is now much more modern in appearance and has lost that bulbous styling of the previous model. Pillion provision is not particularly good, so this bike is more suited to one-up riding with your mates than taking your partner out for a Sunday stroll. So Shelley, are you a Suzuki lady? Tell me what you think.
It was brilliant.
Was it?
Loved it, yeah. Yeah.
Tell me why. What was the handling like?
It was just so easy, really smooth, but the acceleration was there. It was just really easy to corner, which is the one thing, you know, I'm worried about.
Well, you were worried about the weight, weren't you? I mean, how was that?
It was really light to what I expected. Yeah, really brilliant.
Because they're quite, I mean, really, these in the 600 category, I think, I probably have lots of people say different, but I think these are quite, they can be a handful. You know, they're all there, really.
Yeah,
they're nice, nippy.
Felt really controllable, though.
Yeah.
Even though the power was there, it didn't scare me in the corners, which is the main thing, really.
It was a big leap, 600 from 125. I mean, that's a serious lot of power. So, brakes and things like that, all to your liking?
The brakes were quite soft, but they still worked really well, so I didn't have any trouble on that. It's a really nice bike.
Yeah.
I can't fault it.
It's an extreme. I love it. It's quite an extreme position on these, though, because they are an out-and-out sports bike.
Yeah, it is what I'm used to, though, because I've tend to,
Of course, yeah. And the seat, that's a nice comfy seat, isn't it? Yeah? And you take the other half on the back?
I don't think he'd have the nerve.
Well, not yet, anyway, until you start whooping past him. Yeah. So, I mean, you like You like the bike?
Yeah, I think it's lovely.
You can't fault it?
Not a bit, no. It is quite tall, but then again, I can cope with that
You're
because
not
it's not
short.
too heavy. So, yeah, it's great.
So we like it then?
We do.
That's really good. Well, at this point, I'd like to take you to the scoreboard and see what you give the Suzuki GSX-R600. So, Shelley, what do you give the GSX-R for style?
I'd give it an 8. It's a lovely looking bike.
And performance?
8 again, surprisingly. I didn't think I would.
Practicality?
6 because sports bikes aren't practical. So.
Second that. Reliability?
I'd say an 8. I haven't heard anything bad about them.
And value for money?
A 7. It's not a bad price at all.
So that was bike number 1, the Suzuki GSX-R600, which I think it's fair to say we absolutely love. Yeah? Brilliant. Well, of course, you can't decide just yet because you've got 2 more bikes to come. So let's go to bike number 2 and see what it is. Next up, it's the Yamaha R6. This bike was Yamaha's response to the Suzuki GSX-R600, and for that reason they made sure it was the best in its class. Looking at the R6, you can just see the styling cues taken from their flagship sports bike, the R1, but the similarities don't end there. Riding the R6 shows how much more focused it was than its rivals, and until recently it was the 600 that played hardest. Ideally suited to track day and A-road thrashing, this bike is not really for the timid and just demands to be ridden hard to get the best from it. Right, Shelley, bike number 2. You did mention you liked these.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're very, very pretty bikes. Nice and sleek for ladies.
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah. So this is your dream bike then, in theory?
In theory, yeah.
Yeah?
We'll see.
So what is it about these you like so much?
Just the looks of them. They just look so dainty.
Yeah. And
So-
have you read all the reports on them and stuff?
Yeah, they just seem to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Although,
Now your partner's got an R1, hasn't he?
yes, yeah.
So he would fully recommend the R6 to you.
Oh, definitely. Nothing else.
Right, well we need to know what you think to it. So get your helmet on and let us know.
Okay.
The R6 Michelle is riding is a 2002 model priced at $5,299. The R6 took handling and performance to a whole new level, and it's taken the competition 6 years to catch up and introduce better bikes. Many people buy the R6 and then complain that it's not comfortable and it does not provide ample accommodation for a pillion, but let's face it, that's not really why you should buy a bike like this. The R6 is a very focused bike and is not really suited to commuting or two-up riding. Make sure the R6 you're looking at has not been raced by checking for lock wiring holes and bodywork that looks too good for the bike's age. Right, Shelley, was it your dream bike?
No.
You're joking, tell me.
Just too skitty in low gears. To handle at really slow speed, yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah.
wait.
Just worried me.
Really?
Yeah. The weight's fine, it handles fine,
Yeah.
brakes are fine, but it's just not for me.
The power is just
It's just the first gear. It's all or nothing.
really
No in between.
front wheel up a little bit.
No,
Could be.
not quite. On its side, more like. But no.
Really? How funny, because you were in love with this bike.
Yeah. It's one of these I passed my test for.
Good
There
grief.
you go.
So I mean, is it comfortable? Because that seat is decidedly bigger than the GSX.
It is. It's very comfortable. Position's fine, but it just doesn't feel right. I don't feel as though. I think it's taking me. I'm not riding it.
Yes, you're not in control of it. Do you think that might, with a bit more experience on it, do you think it might?
Maybe it would, but I'd like to feel comfortable now.
That's it, when you've been on the Suzuki and you
That's
felt
it.
so comfortable the first go on it,
That's it.
makes a difference,
So,
doesn't it?
Yeah, I prefer to feel at least a little bit safe.
Yeah. We always prefer to feel a little bit safe. So the positioning is fine and everything, and the weight's fine. Brakes, because the brakes were a bit soft, you said on the other.
Yeah, no, they're fine. They were great. It just didn't feel right.
Well, that's right though, because that's the thing. I think it's right. You know, some people would probably think, no, I'll have another go on it. I'll have another go, see if you can live with it. Yeah. But you know instantly that you prefer.
That's it. I'd be worried about taking the bike out.
Yeah,
You know,
you wouldn't
I'd be
wake up
worried
on Sunday morning excited.
That's it. I'd be dreading the first few miles until I got back into it.
Right. You and the rest of us, to be honest, if you felt like Right, well, on that note, we'll go to the scoreboards.
Okay.
Right, Shelley, what do you give the R6 for style?
I'd still give it a 9.
You like that one, don't you? Performance.
I'll give it a 6 because it just wasn't for me.
What about practicality?
6 again.
And reliability?
As far as I know, an 8. The other horse had no problem with his R1.
And value for money?
I'd say a 6 for that one.
So that's bike number 2, the Yamaha R6, which I think it's fair to say we were disappointed with.
Yeah, just a bit.
Oh, never mind, we've still got bike number 3 to come. So before we go to bike number 3, it's time to see Dr. Rod and his essential tips on used bike maintenance.
Now you've got your bike, you need to hang on to it. So you'll obviously want to be buying some kind of security device to make sure it's still there the morning after you've bought it. One of the best and most traditional ways of locking a bike up is to use a good old-fashioned padlock and chain. And there are now some very good ones on the market specifically for bikes. Pay a good price and buy a good one. The best way to secure your bike with something like this is to wrap it around the wheel onto the frame, then the bike can't be moved. And if you park next to railings and can get it around the frame onto the railings, that's even better. Another very convenient type of lock is this disc lock, and this is the kind of thing that you can pop around the disc on the wheel. And if I can just unlock that, I'll show you how this works. First of all, that plunger comes out of there, and then if I pop that around the back of the wheel, it goes through the middle of the disc like that, and then finally we lock that in place like that. And that's ideal if you're just leaving the bike for a short period of time. It's also bright yellow, so don't forget that it's on there and try and ride off with it in place. But for the ultimate in security, you need an alarm. Now there are lots of different alarms on the market, so talk to your insurance company before buying one to make sure that you get something that's insurance approved. Here are a couple of examples that we've brought along to have a look at. But some of these kits you can fit yourself, but do be aware that some of these alarms have to be fitted by a factory trained technician. And the final thing to remember is once your alarm's on your bike, do tell your insurance company that you've had it fitted, because you may get a substantial discount off your premium.
And we'll be hearing more from Rod later in the programme. So far this week, Michelle Purcell from Stoke has tested the GSX-R600, which she loved, and the R6, which although Shelley thought was a dream bike, actually didn't like it that much. After the break, we'll be revealing bike number 3, and we'll see how it shapes up against bikes 1 and 2. See you in a mo. Welcome back to Used Bike Heaven. This week, Michelle Purcell from Stoke, who currently owns an Aprilia RS125, is looking for a 600cc sports bike to have plenty of fun on. She's already tested the GSX-R600 and the R6 and is about to go out on her 3rd and final test. Let's see what bike number 3 is. Last up, it's Ducati's 748. The 748 was the baby brother to the 916, but in many people's eyes, it was always the better bike of the two. Ducatis are renowned for their performance and handling almost as much as for their stunning good looks. Sadly, they're also well known, rightly or wrongly, for their Latin temperament. If you want daily transport, look elsewhere, but if you want a track day tool that will have you grinning like a Cheshire Cat every time you ride your favourite roads, then this is the bike for you. Right, if you walk this way, Shelley, here is the 3rd and final bike, the Ducati 748. What do you think of the looks of this?
It's lovely, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Are you into these? I mean, people either love or hate them. They go,
Well, I am, but you know, they are a race machine, aren't they?
They are.
That's what they're made for, so.
Quite aggressive, it's
That's
probably,
it.
yeah.
Pleasant surprise, though.
But you like flashy sports bikes,
I do,
don't you?
yeah.
Yeah, because they are pretty.
They are.
Yeah. So you've never been on anything like this?
No, I haven't.
Have you ridden twins already?
No, I know people that have. And some love them, some hate them, so we'll see.
Nice open mind. This is
go.
what you think. All right, so get your helmet on and let us know. Michelle is testing the 2001 model of the 748, priced at £5,999. As with all Ducatis, reliability is questionable, so when buying second-hand, make sure you have the cam belts checked. Also, be sure to examine the head bearings and front wheels for damage. It's also recommended to check for lock-wired sump plugs and brake pads, as many 748s are ex-race bikes. Being an Insurance Group 16 means it's quite a high-risk bike, so well worth investing in a good hefty lock and approved alarm system. So Shelley, have we converted you to Ducati?
I don't know. It's a lovely bike. I think it'd take a bit more practice.
Do you know, I really thought you'd come back and say, no, definitely not for me. So, well, what do you like about it?
It was easier than I thought to ride. Cornering felt a bit strange. The brakes were okay.
Yeah.
On the downside, I think it is something for when you want to do track days all the time.
It's quite extreme, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's not a day-to-day bike.
No. And as a woman, I mean, you know, you're a tall woman and this, but it is a long way, isn't it, from the seat to the handlebars?
It is, yeah. You feel like you're resting on your wrists all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But everything was okay then? You weren't...
Yeah.
Because, I mean, V-twin.
Yeah, different.
Very much so. Do
Yeah.
you think you could live with one?
I think you could learn to get used to it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because you have all the kind of, just little things like engine braking and stuff like that are heightened. So, did you have any problems?
Not really, no. No, I think, you know, on its plus side, it's a Ducati, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, you look at it and you know, it's
Yeah.
just a thoroughbred race bike, really, isn't it?
That's it. You know, people either love or hate them, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they kind of say, oh, I've got to have a Ducati because it's a Ducati. But they don't really care what it rides like, they just pull up.
That's
So you liked it, that's good, comfortable.
No, not really.
Track day
Yeah,
bike,
definitely, yeah.
But nice power, sounds great, looks good.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we'll go to the scoreboards. So, Shelley, what do you give the 748 for style?
I'd give it an 8, it's a gorgeous looking bike.
Absolutely. And performance?
A 7, probably a bit too much for me.
And what about practicality?
A 6, as with all sports bikes.
And reliability?
A 6, because they don't get a really good write-up.
No. And value for money?
A 6 again, because they are quite expensive for what they are.
So you've ridden all 3 bikes today, Shelley. Overall on the scoreboard, the GSX-R wins with 37 points, but you don't have to decide just yet, because we're going to go over to Dr. Rod, who's going to give us a recap on each of the bikes featured today.
The middleweight Gixxer's blend of screaming power and razor-sharp handling makes it an ideal track bike, but some may find it just a little bit too uncompromising for daily road use. There's no doubt that the GSX-R is a fine motorcycle though, and 7 years continuous development have honed it to its present form. A new airbox, some valve timing changes and a tweaked exhaust improved it back in 1998, and for 2001 it gained fuel injection and a chassis to rival its big brother 750. If Michelle does buy this bike, she'll find 105 brake horsepower, a top speed of 160 miles an hour and fuel consumption of 40 miles to the gallon. With insurance in Group 14, it's also cheaper to insure than both of tonight's other bikes. The R6 is one of the leaders of the middleweight sports bike pack. It's a great looking bike with a high revving engine, razor sharp handling and stonking performance. It's also much beloved of thrashers and bike thieves, so make sure your bike has been well cared for and still has all its locks intact. The 4-cylinder engine produces 120 brake horsepower, which will pull the bike along at speeds in excess of 150 miles an hour. But it's not a cheap bike to run. Insurance is in Group 15, which is more expensive than either of tonight's other 2 bikes. The price of $5,199 is more or less spot on, and this bike is young enough to have escaped all but the crudest thrashing. For out and out speed fever, this is the one to go for. Now the Ducati is an entirely different kettle of oysters to tonight's other 2 bikes. The big V-twin engine makes its power in an entirely different way and it's going to feel very different to ride. These bikes are hand-built too, so it will need a bit more looking after than the 2 mass-produced Japanese bikes. Now the Ducati experience is an addictive one, and despite the bike's lack of power, these are very seductive machines to ride. If you must have a Ducati, the 748 offers possibly the best balance of power and handling across the entire Ducati range. This bike is barely 4 years old and looks like it's been mollycoddled, so the asking price of $5,999 is reasonable, but a little bargaining may just help to offset the price of the Group 16 insurance.
So, Shelley, which one is it going to be?
It's going to have to be the Suzuki.
Do you know, I knew you were going to say that because you looked so happy when you came back on it.
Yeah, it's lovely.
You thought it was going to be all big and heavy and horrible.
I did, I didn't fancy having a go at all. But there you go.
And you're a convert. Your partner's going to go ballistic. So, I mean, it's a nice bike and it's not too bad a price, but I think if you want to take this one home, we need to go and see what deal we can get you, don't we?
Okay.
Let's go. Today's deal is being done at DK Motorcycles in Newcastle and Lyme. Michelle will be trying to haggle with Gary Mackay over the GSX-R600, which is currently on sale for £4,499. Hi Gary.
Hiya.
You alright?
Yeah, fine.
Now you obviously know Shelley and Shelley's partner, don't you?
I do indeed. How you doing?
Not bad, thank you. You?
Yeah, smashing.
That's all the pleasantries out of the way.
Yeah.
So basically, we have tested the GSX-R600 and Shelley really loved it. And we were going to come in and talk about it, but Shelley's walked through the showroom and seen something completely different. So over to you, Shelley.
CBR 600RR.
Right, yeah.
And what money are they going for at the moment?
We are doing 600 RRs at the moment, 03 models for 6,299 on the road.
Tell us about the bike.
The bike itself is typical Honda. It'll run forever. It's from the biggest bike company in the world, so very few things get past them. Reliability, build quality, QA procedures, everything's just bob on with them. Now for one of those bikes, you'd be looking, 6,299 is the price we're doing it for. I think that's about, it's a fair old, it's about £500 or £600 off list. I'll be able to do you one of those. £6,000 on the road for one of them.
So that's a brand new, isn't it? Even though
That's
it's 03
brand
model,
new,
that's
straight
not
out the
registered.
crate, full UK spec. We'll do the lights and the clocks, everything, and that's with 6 months tax and a 3 years warranty.
The only thing is you haven't tested it.
I do have a demo model if you want to take it out for a spin.
But it's a lovely bike. Are you thinking of going for it, for this?
Yeah, I think I will. Yeah.
Without testing it?
Yeah.
You've got a deal. My goodness, you're good.
Yeah.
Is it the accent, you think?
He's
Best
lovely,
Sean
really,
Connery
isn't
I
he?
can do. Yeah.
You think it's the bike for Shelley?
Definitely. It's the bike for anybody. I mean, whether it's you've just passed your test, or whether you've been riding for 20 years, it's 100 and something, 160 odd mile an hour bike at the end of the day. It's more than enough power for anybody. It's latest in styling, latest in technology. You won't go far wrong.
Okay.
Sold. Thanks, Gary.
Yeah.
So, Shelley, let me just get this straight. We went in there to do a deal on the GSX-R600. Yeah. And you've ended up buying a CB-R600.
Certainly have.
But you haven't tested it. So, how come?
Well, it's a Honda. Can't go far wrong, can I?
Yeah? So you are willing to just buy it then and just... Well, I suppose they've got reliability, haven't they? They've got, build quality.
Yeah, and it's pretty.
Absolutely. It sounds so good. And it's yellow and it looks a flash and it's dead sporty. And to be honest, let's face it, it's a CBR at the end of the day.
That's it.
Super. So you're happy?
I am, yeah.
Brilliant. You're going to let me know then how you get on?
I certainly will.
Wonderful. Well, that's it for this week. Join us next week for some more used bike heaven. Shelley bought the CBR600RR and is enjoying having the extra power. It was a shame she didn't go for any of the bikes we offered her, but at least we got a good deal in the end.